Record button. Great. Okay. So everyone, welcome, welcome. Let us jump in. I'll hit my share button.
They've gone to Daniel. We've just
Oh,
had a
can we make
little
sure everyone's on mute, please? I can hear
yes.
somebody talking. If you can just check that you're on mute, that would be great, please. Okay, so welcome to Unlock the Art of Negotiation, negotiation skills that produce results. A very brief introduction to who we are. We are Inner Leader, that's the name of our business. We're based in Leamington Spa, very close to Gaydon. And it's run by myself and my wife, Sarah. Yes, can you believe it? We are married and we live together and we work together, which blows some people's minds. You may have had interactions with Joe, our client services coordinator. And these are some of our trainers, Rachel, Paul, Louise. All of them have got great commercial experience as trainers. And the logos on the right are current existing relationships that we have. These are not snapshots of one piece of work we did 10 years ago and we're still using their logo. All of these organizations we are continually working with and providing training such as negotiation skills. Okay, in terms of what we offer, and I know this is not a sales pitch, this is just to make you aware of what we offer in terms of negotiation. We have two courses. One we call Fundamentals of Negotiation, which is really designed for anyone managing stakeholders. So anyone in a team, interfacing with stakeholders. It's about building self-awareness and confidence, valuing your team and your personal resources, and managing difficult relationships, difficult personality styles. And then for sales teams, commercial teams, we have a specific sales negotiation offering, which is much more focused on the driving greater value and producing a more measurable ROI or commercially measurable ROI. So what are we going to cover today? The agenda is I want to have a quick check-in round, not the type of check-in round that you normally have, just a chat-based check-in round. I'm going to introduce you to the Inner Leader negotiation model, which is a 5-part model. The 3 takeaways that you are going to get from this session. Number 1, the mindset to be an effective negotiator. Number 2, we're going to introduce you to what we call our golden questions. There are 6 golden questions. All of them are incredibly useful when you are negotiating. And finally, we're going to explore the psychology of anchoring. You may have heard of this, you may not. You will definitely know what it is by the end of this session. Then we'll have time for Q&A. And then we'll share some next steps in if you're wanting to learn more with us. Okay, so the check-in round is a chat-based check-in round. Question to you all, when you hear the word negotiation, like, you have to negotiate this thing or you're about to step into a negotiation, what words do you associate with that? Can you please put in the chat? Words, thoughts, what emotions does it bring up for you? Just when you hear the term negotiation, what do you associate with it? Whether it's positive, negative, neutral, please put it in the chat. What do you associate with that? Ross, awkward. Lynn, compromise. Debate, meet in the middle, balance, hold tight, make a deal. Persuade. Yeah, interesting. And in fact, when someone asked me this question years ago, I said, oh, it's about persuading. It's actually not. Negotiation is not actually about persuading. I thought it was all about, or forcing or pushing or making a deal. It's not really any of those things. Özlem, you put sell. I put sell as well. When I first thought, my understanding of negotiation was you're selling, right? No. There may be some sales psychology in there, but the act of selling is very different to the act of negotiating. So, Ria, you put understanding. Absolutely, Danielle. Art of making things you want. Sorry, art of making things you want naturally. Yes, I mean, sometimes it feels natural. Sometimes it doesn't. Win-win outcome. I would absolutely agree with that. Great. Okay, so we've got some different associations with it. Some people look forward to negotiations. I think the majority of people I meet, they're not feeling so positive about needing to negotiate something, typically. So let us continue. This quote here resonates in my mind. In life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Chester Karras is a huge figure in the world of negotiation skills, American gentleman. And it's so true. In life, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. Now, that really is influenced by where you grew up. Because if you've grown up in Western Europe, we don't negotiate. We don't really have a negotiating culture. We don't barter, we don't bargain. You go to the shop tells you the price, and you pay the price. You don't say, well, if the price is 10, could I have it for 8? That would just be awkward and embarrassing. So we haven't really grown up in a negotiation culture. Whereas in the Middle East, for example, or Turkey, some parts of Asia, it is, you go to the market, you can't just buy some fish or some vegetable for a fixed price. Everything you have to haggle, negotiate, barter. So certainly, I think in Western Europe, we haven't grown up in a culture where we are even hearing people negotiate around us that much. So it is a language. It's a language to learn. We've developed this model that we call PEPTA. It's a 5-part model because negotiation can be fairly complicated, so we need to simplify it. We've developed this in collaboration with real teams facing real-world negotiation challenges. This is a model that's effective across, I believe, all industries or sectors. It's structured to help you extract more value from your deals, your agreements, your arrangements. And it's simple enough to remember and apply. I delivered this as part of a negotiation program for SAP Concur. And over the following 12 months, the head of sales reported about that this had given them a 4% uptick in their revenue, which equated to £480,000. So this produces real world results. So we have confidence in this actually working in the real world. So the P is prepare. Okay, no surprise there. We need to prepare negotiations. And that sounds obvious, but often we can find ourselves turning up to a negotiation with our strategy being hope. I just hope that things go well. It's not going to be enough. The E is explore. It's about sharing your goals and your intentions. So in negotiations, we want to be clear, but we also need to be uncovering the other person. Can everyone just check that their mic is on mute, please? So we really want to be focusing on what the other person is wanting as well. P is propose. Psychologically, we recommend that you are the first person to propose something. And there's a psychological advantage to doing this, which we're going to cover today. T is trade. The essence of a negotiation is trading. And the more creative you are, the better the trades you can discover and make. And then A is agreement. And there are certain key steps you need to do there to really summarize, to seal the deal, to get clarity, to prevent buyer's remorse or agreement remorse, and to make it stick and to really make it work for both parties. Great negotiation should be a pleasure. It might be stressful during the process, but by the time you've ended it, you should be happy. The other party should be happy. Why? Because this isn't the only negotiation you'll ever do with them. In most cases, you need to keep negotiating and keep working with certain groups, certain parties, different functions, different teams, different stakeholders. So we really want we need this to work for both parties. That's the goal. And this model is it's not a strict set of rules. It's a dynamic set of principles. So as in life, there's very rarely a straight line from A to B, and you might need to go forwards and backwards and in between to really get to that end agreement. Okay, enough theory. Let's get into some of this. So what's the mindset to be an effective negotiator? Well, we talked about some of the words that people were putting in the chat there in terms of it. Maybe is it selling? Is it persuading? Is it a win-win? Is it a compromise? Well, let's start by answering this statement here. Bit of fun, and I'd like you to answer it in the chat. Don't overthink it. Just give us your first response to this. Faced with a difficult opponent, it is better to concede something of little value in order to create goodwill. Now, just when you read that, does that sound false? Does that sound true? Again, I'm not trying to catch anybody out here, just genuine question, put in the chat. When you read that, what does your gut tell you? When faced with a difficult opponent, it's better to concede something of little value in order to create goodwill. I just need to stop sharing so I can see the chat. We've got true, 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 similar to loss leader in supermarkets. False, as are we talking mutual value? Okay, true, true. We've got a majority of truths there. When I first saw this statement, I was like, that's true. This is definitely true. Can you guess what I'm going to tell you next? Let's break this down because this is really understanding the psychology. So, faced with a difficult opponent, we have opponents in sports, and in nearly all sports, there is only ever one winner. So the key mindset change here is that you don't negotiate with opponents, although you may well oppose what they want, right? They might be asking for some ridiculous thing that you think is absolutely preposterous. You might oppose that, but mentally, don't see them as an opponent. See them as a partner. This is really, really key. Otherwise, you're going to try to consciously and probably subconsciously get some type of win-lose outcome, which just isn't going to work. And again, in terms of a difficult opponent, okay, well, you might find someone's personality difficult. I'm sure we all work with people who we find difficult, but mentally, you still need to see them as your partner. In a negotiation, you need their willing cooperation. And if we don't get the willing cooperation, they will simply say no and walk away. There's no deal. So we need them to be willing. And so therefore, already we're touching on that part that we're not really there to sort of sell so much or persuade so much. It needs to be a deal that they look at and they go, yes, I want that. Like, I want it and I need it. They are then committed to this deal. Whereas if you're trying to sell or position it too much, maybe it's because it's not what they really want or need, perhaps. Let's break down the rest of this. It is better. Okay, better is a comparative word, and here we are not stating what the alternative is, so we can't say that it is better because we're not saying better than what. Can we just check that everyone's on mute, please? I can hear some voices coming through. Thank you. So negotiation involves constantly exploring alternative, better options. This is where the creativity part comes in. As a negotiator, whether it's a small negotiation or a big negotiation, it's your mission to find out what deal would be better for your partner and for you. And this is only limited by your creativity. So yes, this is how we normally negotiate these type of things. Well, that's how you normally do it. How else could we do this? What other aspects of this interaction or exchange could we come up with, but that perhaps no one has ever come up with before in our department or our team or our part of the business? This is a big one as well, to concede. Negotiators, great negotiators, do not concede. They trade. Let that sink in. Great negotiators do not give things away. They trade. And yeah, as we could say, we should never give something away for nothing in return. And again, the psychology of this, if you give something away for free, if you say, well, this is free, it doesn't cost you any time or energy, and there's no reciprocity, I'll just give it to you for free, you are often debasing its value. Just by saying something's free, we hear, oh, okay, so there's no real value in this. The mindset will be never give an inch or even a millimeter, trade it. Now, again, even this sentence here, this might make you feel a bit awkward, especially if you are a people pleaser. If you like to please people and keep everybody happy and be a really nice person and a really very generous person, that's there's some real positive qualities to that. We're not saying that's a bad thing. However, in a negotiation situation, you are very likely to be taken advantage of and end up giving a lot and probably not getting much back in return. And the stuff that you have given, because you've probably given it for free, it's unlikely that the other party will value it as much as you hope they will. And someone commented on this in the comments already, something of little value. Well, hang on just a minute. Who's deciding that this thing is of little value? Well, to me, this is a little thing. This thing is easy for me to do. This thing is cheap for me to do. I've got a friend who's a really qualified builder. It would be easy for him just to help me to build a garden shed. It's just so easy for him. But that's a big value to me. But for him, it's of little value, and he could easily just give that away because he builds houses. I mean, building a shed is just so easy for him. But to me, that's incredibly valuable. So value is, of course, subjective, and it's very much dependent on your circumstances. You know, if you're sitting next to a water cooler or a big bottle of water and you've just been drinking water all day, a glass of water doesn't really carry much value for you. And if I offered you another glass of water, if you've just finished a marathon, one glass of water has huge value. Different context, different circumstance. If you're giving your things away for free, your knowledge, your expertise, your time, your added value, if you're giving that away for free, you may be left with nothing else to trade. And finally, in order to create goodwill, be careful that believing that conceding something automatically creates goodwill. Sometimes it does. Sometimes let's say a certain type of person, I did this for them, and oh, I was hoping they did this for me, and they did. That does happen. However, if you're negotiating with somebody who's very confident, perhaps very forceful person or personality, they are unlikely to show gratitude in those situations. Let's also recognize that bullies do exist. They existed in the playground at school. They exist in the workplace. Some people thrive on a win-lose. You know, I got them to give me all of this and I gave them hardly anything. You know, for them, that's a win. Their ego feeds off that type of dynamic. If you reward selfish or manipulative behavior, you're only inviting them to push harder. You know, the fantasy we have is, well, if I give them this, they'll stop pushing, right? Because I've given them that. That's so kind. It's so generous. So that's all they'll want. There are people who, when you give them that, they think, oh my God, I just got all of this. I didn't even push them. I didn't even ask for what I really want yet. Just imagine what I'm going to get out of this person. So we believe generating goodwill, the best way to generate goodwill is through both parties trading value, both parties coming away with a sense of, I'm really pleased with this. I've got something that I really need or want. And I'm also comfortable with what I've exchanged for it. That's how to create really goodwill. Okay, so in summary, once again, faced with a difficult opponent, it is better to concede something of little value in order to create goodwill. How many of you would say this is still true? I would guess far fewer. Can I ask you, just in the chat, what's been the biggest insight for you, the biggest takeaway from this piece that we've just gone through? Just put in the chat, what's been your biggest takeaway? What's been your biggest, moment? So we've got opponent versus partner. Great. It's collaboration. It's not a fight. Yeah. Always exploring options. Yeah. Özlem, conceding. Yes. Not conceding. Giving away versus trading. Andy, yeah, thank you. And language matters. Trade versus concede. Partner, opponent. And again, because the language we use affects the mindset we carry, right? And the mindset equals our beliefs, what we're believing to be true. Great. Okay, we're making some nice progress already. Let us come back and keep going. Okay, so in summary, I would say this is our preferred definition of negotiation. Negotiation is the art of trading value. It's the art of trading value. So, and again, because value is subjective, it then the next natural thought is, okay, well, what's valuable to this other person? What's valuable to this other party? Quick exercise, right? Actually, before we go in, because we're making good time here, I'd like you to think of a party that you need to negotiate with in the coming week, 2 weeks, sometime this month, early next month. Just get clear about it. It might be an individual person, it might be a group, it might be an LT, whoever it is, stakeholder. Write down their name or title or some way of referring to them. And I'd like you to write down some bullet points. Now, to do this well, step out of you, step out of your mindset, your shoes, your world, your cares, and I want you to step into them, like mentally, okay? So I now pronounce you those other people. So imagine that you're inside their mind, inside their role. You're now faced with the pressures that they are faced with and the objectives they're trying to achieve, the outcomes they're looking for. Write down on your list, what's of value to them? in relation to what you can offer them. What are they looking for? What are they needing? Just let your mind flow. This other party that you're needing to negotiate with, what's of value? What's really of value to them? And then a question beyond that is why? Why the things you're writing down, why are they valuable to them? What are they hoping that those things will get them? So what's the value beyond what you've already written down? Now, there's something else in here which I want to share with you, which isn't part of the slides, but it's just coming to my mind, so I want to share it with you. There are two motivators of all human behavior. That's a huge statement to make. All human behavior is driven by these two motivators. It's the reason that you came into the office today or you're working from home. It's the reason it's the reason why you joined JLR. It's the reason why you in a relationship with the person you're in. It's the reason why you had tea or coffee this morning. It's the same two motivators. It's everything we do is driven by these two motivators. Lynn, I'm going to ask you to be just to have play with me on this. Did you have a tea or a coffee this morning?
Tea.
Why did you drink tea? Why did you choose tea?
Because I like tea first thing in the morning. I prefer it to coffee in the morning.
There we go. So that one of the two motivators for all human behavior is that we do something because it moves us towards pleasure. Why did you have a cup of tea? I like tea. Why did you not have coffee?
I just don't like it first thing in the morning. It's too strong.
Okay. Might you like it later in the day?
Yes, I do. I have one a day, one coffee a day.
Why not have 3 a day?
It's too strong. It's too much. It's too stimulating.
Aha. So the second motivator of all human behavior, we move away from pain. Now, pain, it doesn't just mean physical pain. It could be something uncomfortable. Like, I don't want to have 3 coffees and have the jitters and my heart's pounding and my head's got all scatty. That's pain. So that's why I'd have 1 coffee, or Lynn would have 1 coffee, but she's not going to have 3. And actually, her preference in the morning is tea because for her, that's more of a towards. With somebody else is going to say, oh, I'd never drink tea in the morning. Has to be coffee for me, towards pleasure. So let's bring this psychology into what you've just written down for that list from the party you're negotiating with. Write an additional list or edit the list you've already got. What is pleasure for them? What are they, what's in the category of like, it's good, it's what they want, it's what they're hoping for, it's the positive outcome or outcomes they're looking for. Write down a list of what they would say is pleasure. Like if I was to interview them, they would say this, 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 and that. Also, write down their pain list in terms of how they're concerned. What is pain for them? Is it a delay? Is it more red tape? Is it a decline? Is it a loss of revenue? So who knows? Pain takes many forms, right? Is it a loss of reputation? Is it a legal risk? Is it negative consequences that might harm a certain relationship? Again, the clearer you are about the other party's pleasure and pain, the more effective you are as a negotiator. Any questions on this? I really welcome questions, either talking over the mic or in the chat. Well, let me know. As and when you have questions, please pop them into the chat. Very, very happy to see if I can answer them. Okay. So we're talking about identifying pleasure and pain. Sometimes we'll be able to have a good guess at that. Sometimes we'll be right. Sometimes we won't be right. Sometimes we will have completely skipped certain or just be not aware of certain things that for the other party, it's so important, but it just never would have occurred to you. This is why we need golden questions. These are a collection of questions that I have gathered through different sources through some individuals who are like phenomenal negotiators who I've studied under. Others I've read in books. Others, yeah, just through trial and error, and sort of shaped them in certain ways. All of them look quite underwhelming when you see them written down. It's like, yeah, okay, that's just a question. But all of them produce real value in terms of your understanding of what the other party is wanting, or how to navigate the negotiation. The first question is this: what are your priorities? I mean, you read that and it doesn't blow you away, doesn't it? It's not like, wow, what a brilliantly complex, amazing question. It's pretty simple. In my experience, it's not a question that we ask often in any situation. Why? Because we are spending 99% of our time focusing on a different topic. It's our favorite topic. What is our favorite topic? Oh, come on. We think about this more than anything else. Of course, it's ourselves, isn't it? So I'm thinking the whole time, what are my priorities? What do I care about? What do I want? What's in it for me? Okay, so we need to, and that is important to know what you want. It's also important to know what are the priorities of the other party you're negotiating with. Discover what really matters to them. And again, you will have done some good prep with your towards and away from list that we just talked about, but it's also asking them, what are your priorities in this negotiation, in this context? What are your priorities? Another great question. What's most important to you about, and then choose that topic, whatever that topic is. What's most important to you about it? Again, it doesn't seem like a seismic question. It's like, okay, it's just a normal question. But this is a really powerful question. Let me just stop the sharing. I want to put it ask you in the chat. You are all about to buy a new car. You're going to buy a new car next week. Please put in the chat what's most important to you personally about a new car. Please put that in the chat. What's your answer? You're gonna buy a car next week. What is most important to you about buying a new car? Chelsea, safety and comfort. The brand, range, yeah, affordability, reliability. Is it automatic? Price, safety, matches with my identity and my values, comfort, honest seller. If it's not a Volvo, okay, right, color, right. So I've asked you the question, what's most important to you about buying a car? What you're now giving me are your values. These are your criteria. So if your criteria is reliability, and I spend 20 minutes explaining how you can have it in any color you want, already it's a mismatch. Or, I mean, Andy's talked about lead time, right? He whatever the car is, he needs it within the next X number of weeks. And I'm talking about affordability, or whether it's automatic, or the reliability. It's not his values, and that's not what he's going to buy from. And in fact, if I'm really off point with anyone's values when we're in a negotiation, it just gets to the point where they're like, look, I don't think this isn't going to work. Look, I'm going to speak to somebody else, because we're just that far away from what's important to them. Let's continue. Next golden question. What factors will influence your decision? Negotiation is all about making decisions, making choices. Well, great. Let's just get right to it. What factors will influence your decision? I mean, you're asking the person directly, what is going to influence the decisions they're going to make? You are uncovering hidden influences with this question. Really simple, really effective. Next one. What would we need to do to get you to move on that? And again, when we're talking about moving, we're talking about moving on a certain point, well, if we were going to do business together, our lead time is 12 weeks, or we wouldn't be able to start this before the 7th, or we'd only be able to give you X amount of resource on this. Well, okay, 12 weeks isn't going to work for us. For us, it needs to be 8 weeks or less. What would we need to do to get you to move on that 12 weeks? It's a really key question, which helps to uncover conditions for a pathway ahead. Next question. I love this question. Again, I'd probably call this the sort of core negotiation question. Under what circumstances would you? And again, we are looking for a way forward, right? This is not about it's trying to, it's the opposite of having a deadlock, gridlock. I want this, you want that. We can't go ahead. Oh no, that's unreasonable. I think you're being unreasonable. We've got to get away from this because otherwise there is no negotiation. Okay, so Tim, under what circumstances would you agree to this? Under what circumstances would you allow this to happen instead of that? It's a really elegant question that sort of jumps over the gridlock or the deadlock and gets you into a more flexible space. Final question. Is there anything that you feel I or we should know or that we should have asked? It invites the unspoken concerns and information. And again, I've had some incredible, unexpected answers to this question. It's amazing how much we all carry in our minds. And if someone just asked us a question like this, we would start sharing it. Oh, actually, well, thank you for as you've asked, I'm going to tell you this. Some personality styles, as we know, are very confident, very assertive. They have no problem broadcasting their thoughts the whole time, whether you ask them or not. Roughly 50% of the population are more introverted, more reflective, meaning they need some time, they'd like some time, they'd value some time to think it through, and they're not particularly driven to jump in and cut you off and tell you what they think. So actually they would welcome that invitation. Is there anything else that you feel I should know? Anything I haven't asked? Well, one thing you haven't asked us about is, wow. The fact that they're telling you that, it's obviously important to them. These are the 6 golden questions. They are all incredibly powerful. I would encourage you to start using these in your day-to-day, whether it's an official negotiation or whether you're just trying to move something forwards with a colleague, a stakeholder, a partner, maybe even one of your children. And again, in the chat, could you please put which of these is your favorite? If you're going to choose one, and just to make it simple, we'll say this is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. So number 1 is on the left, number 6 is on the right. Put in your number, which of those do you resonates for you? 6, 5, 6, 2, 6. Great, 3, great. Fantastic. Real mix. Great. Different questions have landed for different people. Great. Okay, so final thing. Yeah, 6 seems really popular. Great question. Okay. Final thing is anchoring. Now for this, I want to have some fun. I'm going to do a little experiment here. Let's see. Now it's much easier to manage in a small group, but on a group of 28, it is harder to manage. But let's see if we can make it happen. Okay, so the anchoring effect. So I want you to play a game with me here. These are the rules. I'm going to send you a question in the chat. I want you to write down your answer. I mean, I said or type it into your phone. I can see most of you are taking notes, so just keep it simple. Just write it down on a piece of paper. Do not Google the answer. This would be cheating. Okay, we're just having some fun. And again, this is nothing too serious. So don't Google it. I just want you to give it your answer, and I want you to keep your answer private. So don't hold it up to the camera or don't put it in the chat. Just keep it to yourself. Okay, let us see if we can do this. I'm going to come to chat. Oh, he says, because I'm so used to using Zoom, can I message people individually on Teams? Or is it? Oh, I didn't check this. I'm not sure I can message you individually. I think it's all or nothing, isn't it? Oh dear. That's a shame. Okay, let's try it a different way. It would involve people. It would involve some of you having to close your eyes so you don't see the question. Are you going to do that? I don't know. Okay.
You can do it, but you'd have to do it one by one, I believe.
Oh, how do you do that, Chelsea? In terms when you say one by one?
I think if you right click on the individual's name, their email will come up, but if you hit the Teams, here, I'll send you one as a test.
Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, Paul, you suggested breakout rooms. That's not a bad idea. Thing is, it's just a really quick question to answer. That is a shame.
If the question is same for all, we can reply to you
No, the quick.
individually.
Well, you're touching on something there, Özlem. The question is not the same for all. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see if we can do it on breakout rooms. Hang on. Automatically assign 4 to 5 people. Okay, let us try this. Okay, let us try. We're going to try with breakout rooms. Let's see. Thank you for your flexibility on this. Let's see if this is going to work. Okay. So, and then can I then come into each of your rooms and then give you the question there? Is that how it works? Sorry, I'm just so not familiar with running this particular exercise on Teams. Here we go. Let's just open the rooms and see what happens. I should be coming to join you soon. Okay, let's try this. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Do we have everyone back in the main room? Yes, here we go. Here they come. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your patience there. So I put you into different groups. Did you get it? Because I had group numbers 1 to number 6. Did you get a number on your group, or were you just in a group? Did it tell you the number? Maybe it
I
didn't.
think it said 10 for us.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
it did give us the room that you'd put us in.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, look, can you please, so for the first group, hang on, let's have a look here, which was the group with Stephen Jackson and Ozan, Tracy.
Group 10, that was.
Could you call out the or put in the chat your guesses? What were your guesses for the height of the tallest redwood tree?
I did think of 200, but I think it's taller than that. I think it's about, I'm going for 350.
Okay. Anyone else from that group? What did you go for? Actually, if you could put it in the chat, then we can get everyone. Steven's 160, 350. Okay, 36, 500. Okay, and then also in the second room, which was Lynn, Evie, Ignatius, and Paul M. If you could put your answers in the chat as well. 38, 50. Keep going, keep going. Who else is there? Give us your guesses. Okay, then there's another group here, which was this one here, which has got Neth Ravith and Sean and Nimra and Oslem. What are your guesses? And also next group is Jacqueline, Omar, Mandeep, and Chelsea. So if you can put all of your guesses in there now. 366, 36, 150. Great. Okay. And then the final groups, which were Alessandro, Saeed, Ainara, Ross, and also Danielle, Andrew, and Ria. If you could put your guesses in there as well. 25, 40, 100, 80. Okay, interesting. So you'll notice we've got a real range of answers here, right? From sort of 25 meters to 366. Why is that? Well,
I
you
think
didn't
you
all
have
get
given different numbers to each of us.
correct answer. So one group had this question. The world's tallest giraffe was 5.5 meters tall. What's your best guess at the height of the tree? And typically what you find is that because what's happening is your mind is being anchored to 5.5 meters. So you'll think about the tree in reference to that. And most people would then guess, oh, I don't know, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 maybe. The next other two groups had this question. Is the height of the world's tallest redwood tree more or less than 366 meters? So you're now being anchored to a much, much bigger number. It's not saying that it is or it is, just asking the question, is it or isn't it? And it's interesting, that was the group where there was somebody had put 366 and someone else put 306 plus 366. And in the final two groups, there was no anchoring. It's just a clean question. What's your best guess at the height of the world's tallest redwood tree? What we typically find is that in the first group, the numbers are much lower because they're anchored to 5.5. In the other group, they're much higher because they're anchored to a much bigger number. And then the neutral one tends to be somewhere between 50 and 150 meters. This is anchoring. This is what anchoring is. It's a psychological effect, and it happens to all of us all the time. I'll put you out of your curiosity misery. The tallest tree is called Hyperion. It's 116 meters. Just as a reference, there's the giraffe here, 5.5. You see, so if we start anchoring somebody at 5.5, well, even 100 meters seems huge now. Whereas if we're anchoring at someone at 366 meters, well, 116 sounds like quite a small tree. So this is called the anchoring effect or the anchoring bias. It was discovered by Daniel Kahneman, who's a professor of behavioral economics. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Economic Sciences in 2002. You might have read or heard of this book. It's one of his books, Thinking Fast and Slow. So anchoring is to establish a reference point to the other party's mind. And the key finding or takeaway is that people don't deviate far from a given numerical value. So again, if we think about shops know this, pricing in shops know this. So therefore, be the first to make a proposal to maximize this effect. As soon as I propose and say a number, and I'll say, well, the number's going to be 10,000, or let's say you want to buy a car again, and I come and say, well, I'm thinking of selling this car for around 10,000. I've now anchored you to 10,000. We might negotiate down to 9, 9.5, 8, 750. We're unlikely to be negotiating down to 3. Whereas if I say, well, here's my car, and you say, well, yeah, I think that's probably worth about 3,000. 3,000? No, I want to sell this for 10. Oh, that's not 10,000. This is 3,000. You would then be anchoring me to the 3,000. Now I'm trying to negotiate up, but as a reference point of 3. It's pretty hard to get from 3 up to the 10 again. So this is an effect that happens all around us. It happens in shops. We see, you go to TK Maxx and, this jacket is originally £400 and now it's only 150. Oh, wow. It's actually a £400 jacket. It's only 150. You're now spending 150 pounds on a jacket that may be worth 30, right? Okay. And it's not just price. We get anchored to all sorts of things or buy all sorts of things. So let me just share this with you as some other ideas, other aspects. If somebody has a PhD or an MSc after their name, we might be anchored to a certain set of beliefs about who they are, or someone's first impression. If some products got 5-star reviews on Amazon, already we are anchoring to those 5 stars versus the 1-star product. I won't bother reading out all of them, but you get the idea here. So that when you're negotiating, you need to think about what are the key numbers or periods of time that I want to anchor people or anchor the other party towards. And again, if you think about that, think about ways in which you could start to apply anchoring to the anchoring effect to your advantage in the workplace. You could think about some other department says, well, how long is this going to take you or your team to complete this piece of work? If you say, oh, maybe, next week, 3 or 4 days next week, well, you've now anchored them to next week. And as soon as it's further than next week, now it's late. Whereas if your first thing is, well, maybe about 3 weeks time, we could get 3 weeks. We don't have 3 weeks. Well, maybe we could do it in 2 weeks, but that would depend. Already that sounds better because mentally you've anchored me to a much longer period of time. You could also start anchoring people differently in terms of how long you'll set aside for a meeting. I don't know, tell me in JLR, what would you say is like the standard when someone says, let's have a meeting? Does that automatically mean an hour? Does it automatically mean half an hour?
Half an hour.
Half an hour? Yeah. Well, maybe the next time you're asked for a meeting and you're busy, maybe you can anchor them and say, great, I have 15 minutes available on Wednesday. Or even better, I have 5 minutes available on Wednesday. 5 minutes? That's far too little. Okay, well, maybe we could agree on 15. This is the process of anchoring. So it's really powerful. It's really hard to avoid. And as far as I can understand, the only way to really counter anchoring is by anchoring in the opposite direction. So again, when you're on holiday in, I don't know, somewhere like Turkey and you're in the market and you see a bag or something and you say, how much is it? It's $100. $100? You have to come back and say, look, I'll give you $3. $3? Oh my God, you're insulting me. That's how you would reverse the anchor, right? Because otherwise you're going to negotiate from 100 and you probably end up spending 60, 70, who knows? Okay. Oh yeah, and I just saw this just online. I just Googled online. Here we go. Here's some anti-aging peptide eye serum. I'm sure that's good. It was £410. Now it's only £17.52. I'm being anchored to the 410. So next steps in becoming an effective negotiator. We have, again, these 2 offerings that we've touched on earlier, fundamentals of negotiation. And if you're in a sales or more commercial role, then sales negotiation skills. We are running some open courses. We have an in-person 1-day training, which will be happening, we think, in London, although we may also be running one in Leamington Spa, just depends on numbers. That's on the 12th of March, 7 hours, includes lunch. We're going to limit it to 20 people. And the price is that we've discounted the price to $525. We're also doing a virtual version, which is 2 half-day modules of 9 till 12 on these dates here, the 18th and the 25th of February. It will be, ideally it will be on Zoom. It just depends on the numbers. We may have to switch that to Teams, but then again, that's 7 hours in total, 3.5 hour sessions. Again, limited to 20 people, 425. I'll send you these details so you don't have to jot everything down now. But by the end of these sessions, whether you choose the in-day or the virtual, you will come away with not just more information as we've gathered today, but you will have had time to really practice this and learn the language and develop the skills of negotiating rather than just understanding the concepts. Question for you all. What's been your biggest takeaway from this session? Please share it in the chat. Paul, you are absolutely right, sir. Of course I'm anchoring you. Of course. Why wouldn't I? Best practice. What's been your key takeaways for this? Oh, anchoring for Paul. Golden questions. Anchoring effect. Collaboration. Great, Jacqueline. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's a collaboration. It's not a war. It's not a battle. It's not an arm wrestle. It's a collaboration. £30 for the group session, please. What's that?
Reverse
Oh!
anchoring.
There's some anchoring going on. There's some black belt level anchoring going on there. Right. Great. So I have an ask for all of you. Matt promoted this internally. Matt Gaffin promoted this internally. He's keen to know how this has landed. This is the first time we've done anything with JLR. If you found this session valuable, if you've enjoyed it, if you're taking some value away from it, can I ask you to please go to Yammer and leave a comment? I'm not sure how Yammer works exactly. Can anyone tell me? Would it be something like under where this was advertised, or is it just Yammer in general, or where would you go to leave feedback? Oh, I've got balloons. I'm hearing silence. Does anyone know exactly what you would do to leave, or where would you go to leave feedback on Yammer?
No, usually we would get sent with anything. Normally we get sent like a form, but I don't know if there would
Okay.
be with this. I don't know.
Oh, could use ELS if the courses are less than 200. Oh, Inara, good anchoring there. Okay. Okay, well, what we're going to do, we're going to send you a link. We'll just send you to a link feedback form. Sorry, a Teams feedback form. We'd love to get your feedback because without that, we probably won't be able to influence anyone. So thank you all so much. I pronounce you fledgling negotiators. Go out there, use these skills, and yeah, I wish you all the best. If you would like more information, oh, you've got I was going to put my email. You've got my email already. So yeah, I hope you found this valuable, and see you sometime in the future, I hope.
Thank you.
you.
Really
Thank you
useful
all.
session. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much, Tom.
Bye.
Have a great day, folks.